really good stuff. And we actually used it on a couple of Formula SAE cars. Where the college guys were doing some stuff with that.
Right.
And it definitely was a step up, but now I think it started to almost go a little bit too far for the average guy who was interested in putting a standalone in his car, maybe tuning it himself. And the price went up as well. And so that's when you began to see like people think more about Haltech again. Link's been around for a long time, but they really began to push up in that space at that point. The two we see most these days are Link and Haltech. And then we see the ECU Master and the EMU Black stuff a fair bit. Like I think the EMU Black, we see a lot of 2JZs with that. That's a very popular ECU for those cars. But Link and Haltech are probably the two most common. It's probably partially price related. I think it's also company related. Both companies have pretty good customer support. I think for me, if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably go Haltech. I don't like Haltech's software changes over the last 5 years. I think they've gone a little bit in a direction that I don't like, but that's mainly just a subjective preference. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the software. Just I prefer some of the way the older software worked. But what we found is that the Haltech software tends to be a lot quicker and easier to use. The Link software sometimes can be a little bit slow, a little bit kind of kludgy. Once you learn the shortcuts and everything else, you do pretty well with it. But I just think the Haltech software works a little bit better in most cases. Doesn't mean you can't get decent results out of any of them. But where we see most Links is on Subarus these days, and we'll see Haltechs on VQs, SRs, Honda motors, whatever the case is. So there's this whole plethora. We could probably go through and just do a tier list of standalone ECUs, right? And make a whole 1 hour video on that one. But I think for most people though, if you have a car that's been made, if it's newer than say 2000, 2005 or so, you probably have a lot of really good options on the stock ECU. And if you're 9 times out of 10, it's probably the better option for you because the car's going to start, it's going to run, it's going to have the proper fail safes, it's going to do your fan control. It just works better for most people. But I think people have to really think about who they are and what they want to get out of the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Two things I do want to mention before we wrap up this video regarding the standalone versus stock ECU. So a comment that I get a lot on my STI is, okay, you're making 700, let's say 800, whatever. That car is begging for an aftermarket ECU, like standalone. But the stock ECU is very capable. And back to what you were saying, reliability, I know it's going to start, it's consistent. And the second thing is, you talked about at the beginning of the video, which ECU is better, the stock ECU or standalones, talking about 2026. So the thing that I immediately think of as far as how good the stock ECU is, we've talked about it a lot, Coyotes, V58s, right? These modern cars that are able to run full-time closed loop, and they're just fantastic out of the box.
Yeah, if you're not going full Motec, and doing custom traction management, whatever else the case is, a Coyote or B58, you should be on stock ECU, 100%. The knock detection and the closed loop fuel control on both those cars is very, very good. Like if you're blowing up Coyotes, under 1,000 horsepower, I mean, you're not breaking rods because you're pushing a bunch of boost through them. You're probably doing something wrong. Obviously first gens make less, but you know what I'm saying. First gen, second gen, third gen, different power levels. But the stock ECU, if you don't do stupid things and disable all the good stuff that's in there from the factory, you shouldn't be blowing them up. Right?
Idiot proof.
Yeah, they're kind of idiot proof. But if you go in there and start raising your combustion timing load, combustion load limiters for timing and say, oh yeah, I'm going to let that be 35 degrees so the ECU can do whatever it wants. Well, why? The ECU is never going to run 35 degrees at full throttle. Even an NA car on E85 is not going to do that, right? Certainly not on boost. And then the B58 ECU, even better. Now you're talking about not just great knock detection. For Coyote, for example, we know that if you don't have enough timing in it, if you don't cap it, it'll add timing in to get to the noise level it thinks it should be at. So you put too little timing in, it's going to put timing back in for you to make more power, right?
That's here, idiot.
Yeah. You didn't put enough in. Here's 2 more degrees because you're not making any noise in the knock sensor. And the closed loop control is great. Now, when you go to the B58 ECU, not only does it have great knock detection, but now it'll do individual cylinder trimming. So you got a noisy cylinder because you got a weird injector, it's going to pull timing on that cylinder, first and foremost.
What really surprised me when I talked to Ryan Zamora one time last week was his GTR. And he was telling me all the just features that you can do per cylinder, per everything.
Yeah, stock ECUs, they have it all in there, but the hard part for some manufacturers or software companies is getting access to those features and figuring out how to control them.